All right, so we're talking from a series that I'm calling Pillars, because we're talking about important things for our faith, things that that support our faith, different aspects of it. So far we've talked about devotions, which we broke up into prayer and study, and we talked about worship. So let's review here. Give me some. What is prayer? Somebody give me what prayer is. Somebody give me what prayer is. Go ahead. I'm looking for the words though. What we said, talking to God. What was the word we used?
Fellowship.
Fellowship with God. It involves three things. What are the three things? Aurora. Oh, sorry. I saw Caleb's hand first. There's three words that are involved with prayer. Reverence is one. Confession is not one of the words we use, but definitely part of prayer. So we've got reverence, or reverence. I've got an A word and a T word. Somebody else, go ahead. Caleb?
Adoration.
Adoration is the other one of the other ones. And what's the T word? Okay, Brandon, go ahead. Thanking, Thanksgiving.
No,
yeah.
we can see it. We can see the slide.
Oh, you can see the slides, can't you? Give me that can. No, I'm just kidding. I won't let you have it. And I actually, the word I gave you a little freebie there because the word was actually adoration. But
I said.
that's all right.
Oh wait, no.
That's all right. So that's prayer. Fellowship with God. It involves adoration, thanksgiving, and intercession. We talked about those words. And we said proper living starts with proper prayer. All right. What is study? What does it mean to study? I'm bribing you all really bad here. What is study? Okay. It involves meditation. I'm going to give you one because you weren't here. What is study? Go ahead.
To look over.
To look over.
No.
It involves two things. What are the two things it involves? It involves learning on the two aspects of your person. What are the two things about you that study involves? You got it?
Oh no, I was just thinking.
Thinking. What is this?
Your head.
Your brain, your mind.
Yeah.
And what is the other one? Your mind and your heart. Yeah. I'm gonna be careful I don't throw this past you out the window. All right. It applies the mind and the heart to learn from the scriptures. Proper study starts with proper prayer. Proper living starts with proper prayer. Proper study starts with proper prayer. All right. A lot of P's there. What is worship? We talked about this last week. What is worship? Who wants it? What is worship? Give me a definition. Jamin.
Praying or something.
Like praying. All these things are interwoven. Yes, it does involve prayer, but that's not what I'm looking for.
I'm gonna guess it.
What is worship?
Celebration.
That's one of the words, yes.
Of God.
It's celebration of God, correct. Celebration of God, plain and simple. What are the things that worship involves? Three things. I heard one of them.
Your heart.
We got heart in study. But yes, it does involve heart. There's three words that I'm looking for. Okay? Praise is one, Danny. What's the other two? One of these words is a repeat. What's the word that repeats?
Mind.
No. No.
Intercession.
No.
Adoration.
Adoration. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I threw it by the ribbon. And what's my last one? Praise, adoration, and it's an R word.
Recession.
You're like so close. What's another word for respect?
Reverence.
It's reverence. Oh, it's private or public. Takes place through praise, adoration, and reverence. And we said this was the most important point last week. Worship takes place in the heart. We think of like what we just did as worship, which it is worship. But worship takes place in the heart before it ever takes place in a singing form. Because we can just sing and we're not really worshiping. But worship takes place in the heart. So tonight we are on to service, the pillar of service. So let's define service. Somebody give me a couple words here. Go ahead.
Doing something for someone.
Doing something for someone. Brandon.
Obeying.
Obeying, definitely. Other things. Joasia, give me a word for something that it means to serve.
I guess sometimes serving someone is working for them willingly.
Yeah, willingness, definitely. Katie, give me something for service.
I really don't know.
Nothing? What does it mean to serve somebody?
Work for them.
Work for them? Okay. David? To follow them? Okay. Yeah, there could be some following involved. All right, here's what I want to say. We're going to talk about these words. It's helping others, but it's the delighted, sacrificial, and selfless act of helping others. Now, what we can say it this way too. It's a willingness to give up one's possessions for others' needs. All right? It's sacrificial, it's delighted, it's selfless, it's helping others, and it's a willingness to give up possessions for others' needs. What does it mean to be delighted? We're talking about these words. Go ahead, Jim.
Super joyful.
Super joyful. I like it. What else? What else could delighted be? Okay.
Like happy, but like not happy that you were expecting. Like almost like a surprise, like a
Oh.
surprise birthday party or something.
Yeah. You know what? There is kind of like there's a surprising kind of element to it, isn't there? Like you're delighted by something you weren't expecting. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Other things? Anybody else? Dave? Enthusiastic, yeah. Delight is a sense of joy, it's a sense of pleasure, or it's a sense of satisfaction. And it's experienced, I would say, especially through achievements or in relationships with other people. Through achievements or relationships with other people. And I say achievements because there's a difference between like, you know, getting like an A on a test that you studied for like really hard, you worked really hard for it. There's a delight that comes with that that's different than like, I don't know, going to the supermarket and picking out cereal that you haven't had in a while, right? There's a different kind of happiness that's involved there. Like there's an achievement involved in study. You did something, you worked really hard, and there's satisfaction that comes as a result of that. Does that make sense? You know, and in relationships too, there's something meaningful. Like when you're able to help somebody out, like you feel really good when you're able to you know, help somebody out of a hard time, or you know, give them something that they needed, or you know, if your heart is in the right place, there's like a joy and a delight that comes from helping other people out. So what I want to say about delight when it comes to service is that I almost want to say that there can be no good service unless you desire to do it. Does that make sense? I can do chores, but I can do chores by like kicking and screaming around the house. It's not really delighted service. I don't really want to do that. There's a way to do that with a spirit that says, this is what I feel like doing, but I want to help out my mom, so I'm going to do this with a joyful spirit. That's the kind of service that we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about like, you know, this is the last thing I want to do, and so I'm going to make every effort to make sure everybody knows that I don't want to do this while I'm doing it. You know, I want to help people out, I want to serve, I want to be delighted in this. And when you have that attitude, when you are happy to serve somebody, when you're delighted that you get the opportunity to help somebody, that makes them happy too. Like it's contagious. You know, you help them out, and now all of a sudden they're happy too because they see your good attitude and they're encouraged by your behavior, and they're excited for it. When I think of like delighted service, this is like what I think of. If it'll play, this is like, such a cool video. That's kind of the idea that I get when I think of like when you are delighted to serve somebody and you bring delight into their lives as a result of that. Like their faces just like lit up. Can you imagine like you head down, you're like on your commute to work, and it's just like a dreary day. You get in the car, and all of a sudden there's just people playing instruments in the car with that kind of like that beautiful uplifting. Like that's what delighted service does to people. It's encouraging, it's uplifting, and it inspires delight. Service, I again will say, is only genuine when it comes from a desire to serve. When we just kind of do it half-heartedly, you're not really accomplishing anything other than the task itself. You're not helping anybody out in your attitude. You're just doing it because you have to. Service is genuine if it comes from a desire to serve. That's delight. That's delight. Let's talk a little bit about sacrifice. What does it mean to sacrifice? And I don't mean like lamb on the altar.
I'm thinking about your time to help somebody else's needs.
Okay, you give up your time to help somebody else's needs, Joasia?
To give up something really important to you.
Yeah, definitely. That's good. We'll come back to that. Anybody else? Aurora, what's it mean to sacrifice?
Like to do something that probably won't benefit you.
Yeah, so you're not going to get anything from it, but you're totally doing it for somebody else. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sacrifice means that I give at great cost to myself. When we think of like sacrificing our time and stuff for somebody, we're just like, all right, I got 15 minutes, let's do this. Actual sacrifice means I'm not even going to worry about what time it is. I'm actually going to give myself to whatever needs to be done here, and I'm not going to worry about the time. Now sometimes, like, we live in a busy economy. We're always rushing to get somewhere. Sometimes, you have to like keep an eye on your watch. You know what time you got to go. But like, what if that were not the normal way we thought? What if we were just like, anytime somebody needed something, we were ready to help them out with it, or give them whatever it was that we needed. So when we talk about sacrifice, a couple things. Number one, I want to be a giver. I want to be a giver. I want to give up what's mine for others. So let me ask you, what do you like to collect? What is your prized collection? Give me something you like to collect. Go ahead.
Oh, like Hess toys or something?
Like what?
Hess.
Oh, Hess trucks. Yeah, cool. Tara's sisters and brothers actually have a bunch of Hess trucks. I heard something over here. Coins? Yep. Do you collect coins, Jenna? Cool. I think I actually have a couple on DVD.
Yeah.
You do. And by a couple, I mean like two. I'm not like, don't get your hopes up. Go ahead, Nick. Something else?
Stamps.
Stamps? That's something else. What's something you personally collect? Jake, something you collect? Do you collect anything? Not really. Caleb, you collect anything?
I collect old hardware.
Like what?
Old hardware?
Old hardware, like old computer parts?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna like build a rocket ship in your backyard at some point? Alright. Probably. Wouldn't surprise me. Do you have something you collect? No. Ellie, something you collect? Not at all? Steve? Junk.
Yes!
No, there's no category, there's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no color, it's just whatever. I collect it. Yeah. So for a while, the thing was Beanie Babies. Everybody had a craze about Beanie Babies, like in the 90s. And I saw somewhere that somebody bought, it was on the side of like Facebook where they tell you the trending stories. There was somebody who bought a Beanie Baby for like $15, and it's like some rare first edition. Like, I don't know if anybody would actually pay millions of dollars for it or not, but apparently it's worth a lot of money. Like baseball cards. Anybody collect baseball cards? I'm the only person in here that collects. Do you collect baseball cards, Ryan?
Yeah.
I have a binder of baseball cards. Yes.
I mean, I say collect in a sense that I still have them. I don't like
Yeah.
actively go out and buy them anymore.
I just have them still.
I actually have, I don't know where I got it from, but I have this pack of baseball cards that is unopened, and they used to put a stick of bubble gum in there. The gum is still in there. It's like from like the 60s.
Alright, seriously though, if you go to that, you go.
Okay, we'll see what happens to you.
Probably sell that for a bunch of money.
Probably could. It's like, it's got a little bit of a rip though, like you can see the gum in there. But anyway, yeah, books is like my thing. I have a library upstairs in my house that's like it's like my sanctuary.
I platformed my bed up on bookshelves. Like my bed
Nice.
platformed this much up on like 2 whole bookshelves, and I have 2 big boxes of books I need to put on it.
Sweet. Yeah, kindred spirits right here. Yeah.
Bookworm right here.
I collect books. That's something that I get. There's not anything wrong with collecting things, right? But what I want to say is that I want to be a giver. I don't want to be a hoarder. All right. Some of you are like, that's what my bedroom looks like. That's what your room looks like, Stephen. So like, when you talk about a hoarder, you think of like the TV show where like they have to have interventions and they go in and they clean out their houses and they're all miserable for a while, but then they realize life is better when they can actually breathe and walk around their houses. That's what the idea when you think of a hoarder. But I want to think of a hoarder in a slightly different sense. I think in a spiritual sense, being a spiritual hoarder, I think it's not someone who just has a lot of stuff. A hoarder is someone who only gives after he or she has decided that it's beneficial to him to do so. Does that make sense? Like, I'll give, I'm happy to give, but only if I've got like 10 other things that I'll give one of them, right? Like, I'm only gonna find out if it's something that's beneficial to me. Like, what can I get out of it? Like you were saying earlier, Aurora, like, you're not gonna sacrifice, you're just gonna give if it's beneficial to you. A hoarder is someone who only considers his own benefit in a spiritual sense. This is what our spiritual lives look like when we, in a metaphorical sense, when we don't help other people. We're just kind of thinking of ourselves. We're collecting, time and resources and things for ourselves, and we're never like sharing those things. The point of coming to church and learning about God and how to do ministry and things like that, that's not for us. That's for us to share with other people. Like we can't hoard those things to ourselves. So having stuff isn't bad in any way, shape, or form. Having stuff is not bad. I know some of our rooms look like this, like Stephen's. Okay, having stuff isn't bad, but I should live in such a way as though I do believe that it is more blessed to give than to receive. Okay, those are words attributed to Jesus in the Book of Acts. In other words, the more that I have, the more I should be willing to give. All right, so. We talk about like tithing, that word tithing. Like none of you guys probably tithe regularly because you don't have regular jobs. But like when that number is typically termed 10%. The word means 10%, and so people will say, okay, I give my tithe, I give my 10% of my paycheck. I think that giving should be proportional to what we have, and it should be sacrificial. So I give in such a way that it's not. Maybe 10% is tough for me to give. Maybe that's 10% is sacrificial because it puts a real strain on my budget. But I want to give in such a way that it actually hurts a little bit. That's the idea of being sacrificial with my giving, and not just in tithing. In any way that we help other people. If we want to be sacrificial people, we give in a way that it's an inconvenience to me to help this other person out. So that's sacrifice. Let's talk a little bit about selflessness. Let's talk about selflessness. What does it mean to be selfless? It's very closely connected to sacrifice. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, man. Put someone before me. Yeah. Go ahead.
Like not thinking of yourself when you make a decision. You always make it for someone else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My primary concern is not myself. It's other people. Yeah. So if we could say sacrifice is the act and selflessness is the attitude. I have to be selfless in order to sacrifice. Otherwise, I'm going to be thinking about myself. And yeah, we consider the needs of others to be more important than our own. That's what Paul says in Philippians. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. That was my mom's favorite verse to quote to me and my brother when we were fighting. Look not only to your own needs, but also the needs of others. We count others' needs more significant, more important than mine. I'm going to think about what this person needs before I think, I can use this for myself. Maybe somebody else needs that. I'm going to think about their needs first. So there was a sick man. He went to the doctor's office with his wife. The doctor examined the man, ran some tests while his wife waited in the reception area. The doctor emerged with a concerned look on his face. Doctor, will my husband be okay? The wife inquired. I'm afraid your husband is very ill, the doctor replied. He has a rare form of anemia, and if it is left untreated, he will most certainly die from it. However, with rest and proper nutrition, the disease will go into remission, and your husband should live for many more years. That's great news, said the wife. What do we do? Take your husband home, the doctor replied. Fix him 3 home-cooked meals a day and wait on him hand and foot. Bring him breakfast in bed. Don't let him do anything that you can do for him. If he needs something, you take care of it. Give him a back rub in the morning and a full-body massage every night. Oh, and one more thing. Because his immune system is weak, you'll need to keep your home spotless all the time. Do you have any questions? The wife replied, No. The doctor said, do you want me to break the news to your husband, or shall I? I will, the wife replied. When she walked into the examination room, the husband could sense immediately that something was wrong. It's bad, isn't it? He asked, what have I got? With a tear in her eye, his wife answered, the doctor says you're going to die. A selfless attitude is not like that. A selfless attitude is not concerned with the cost of serving somebody else. Selfless attitude. I figured I saw some smiles. You guys knew where I was going. The selfless attitude is not concerned with the cost of serving others. Selflessness means I sacrifice even at great inconvenience to myself. I'm putting my time, my energy on the line for somebody else. That's what it means to be selfless. And actually, I got one more story for you. This is one of my favorite stories from World War II. True story. I don't think you have, but maybe you did. 1974, as Judith said. No. December 20th, 1943, two enemy pilots met in the skies over Germany. An American rookie pilot named Charlie Brown, truth, and one of Germany's top fighter aces, Franz Steigler, flying a Messerschmitt 109. Upon engaging the already damaged B-17 bomber, which was called Ye Old Pub, if you can't see the name on it, Steigler had mercy on his enemies and escorted them to safety across the fortified Atlantic Wall. Now, so like on the coastline of Europe, Germany had built like all these embankments and cannons and anti-aircraft weaponry, so it was like impossible for Allied fighters to fly over the coast. They had to actually approach from the south in order to get in and do their bombing runs because they would get shot down by this massive wall of artillery. So these batteries defended the German borders, and Franz Steigler escorted the B-17 bomber across there, and so they didn't fire because they saw one of their own planes. So Charlie Brown and his crew, they miraculously returned to home to base despite the extensive damage done to their plane by enemy fire and the considerable loss of fuel. Now, Franz Steigler was one victory or one kill away from earning the German Cross, which is the high honor of a flying ace. His actions, which amounted to dereliction of duty and treason, could have led to his execution. But because he came up on this fighter and was already damaged from anti-aircraft fire, and he saw that they were in no condition to fight back, he actually escorted them to safety outside of the Germans' lines, and they survived. And they actually, I read a book about it, and years later, after the war, they actually met and they got to like talk about what had happened that day. It was a really moving story. But that's selflessness. He literally could have been executed by the SS. Like, Germany wasn't too keen on people like helping the enemy out at that point. But he decided, out of the goodness of his heart and out of an understanding that he was fighting for not for German idealism, but for for his people, for his country. He cared more about helping this injured plane out than getting that German cross that he could have gotten. Selflessness means I sacrifice even at great inconvenience to myself. Whatever the cost to me, I'm willing to do that for somebody else. Let's talk about possessions, and we're done. What about possessions? What are those things? What are some possessions? Money. Got one. Will that help you out? Will that give me some answers? Wait, somebody dish out the candy again? What are possessions? Junk. Not giving you another one. Things you own. Clothes. Houses. That's tough to give up for people, but yeah, if you can go to that extreme, sure. Good? Computer. Cars. So you can serve people by giving them rides. TV. Shoes.
No, I said that first.
No, I said
I've given you like 6 candies tonight. Aurora.
I know the answers.
Toys?
Steven says books.
All right. We think about possessions, and this is the point I wanted to illustrate. We think about possessions in terms of like physical things that we have: cars, money, toys, houses. Caleb, I hope your mom knows you're giving up your house. But anyway, it's not just the things we have; it's whatever I have. It could be time. It could be time. It could be effort. It could be my energy. It could be my ability. I know how to do something somebody else doesn't, so I'm going to help them understand how to do that. The point is that my compassion for others should drive me to give up what I have for them. My compassion for others should drive me to give up what I have for them. This is from, where is it? There it is. 1 John. We were here for like months. By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. Let's back up what we're talking about with our actions. We prove that we love God by the way that we treat other people. Works are not the way we get into heaven. Things we do not get us to heaven. But the fact that we are willing out of our love for God to help other people, that's a work that proves that our faith is real. Does that make sense? If I love God I'm gonna love others. I'm gonna not withhold the world's needs. I'm gonna be a hoarder. I'm gonna help other people if at all possible. Here's what that could look like. I could give up my free time to help out my mom, beyond the chores I regularly do. So I already did the things that are on my list to do for the day, and now I see mom still needs help, and I'm gonna help her, even though the rest of the evening is technically mine. Right? I stay an hour after school to help out my friend with his or her homework, even though I got mine done already. Probably not the first thing you want to do after school. I give my new baseball gear to my friend and use my old stuff because he or she can't afford new equipment. Willing to use my old stuff to help somebody out. Or how about this? This one might touch home to some of you guys. I help set up for an event at church, even though everyone else who is supposed to help has already left. It happens. Are you doing that with a willing spirit, or are you looking for the door when the ladies from MOPS are rolling out the tables, right? We think of our own needs, and so I know sometimes your moms are like, come on, let's go home. But are we willing to help out when we have the opportunity to? We give up what we have. Those are our possessions. This is what I want to say. Service is worship in action. So worship takes place in the heart, like we said last week. But service is worship in action. It means I'm living out what I'm claiming on Sundays. We could say that service is what true religion is. So like I said, if I love God, then and I love God truly, then that love is going to overflow into the lives of other people. Like you can think of it like a cup filling up with water. Once it gets full, it's going to overflow. And so you share that love outward with other people. My life is so full of Christ that I can't help but influence others. Here's how James puts that. He says, if anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, that person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. There's 3 elements there. He says the person who controls his tongue proves that he actually has some understanding of what he believes. That's not enough. He says that your life should be unspotted by the world. Your conduct should be different than the world's conduct. And the third thing is that you serve other people. You help orphans and widows, or people that can't help themselves, essentially. Religion is worship in action. It means that I'm doing something because I love God and because I want to love other people. This is a quote from Eugene Peterson. He translated the Message version of the Bible. He said, "Religion is not a matter of arrangements or places or words. It's not about where I go to church. It's not about the specific songs that I sing or the liturgy that the church uses or the colors of the walls or the padding of the pews, whatever. It's not about that. True religion is about life and love, about mercy and obedience, of persons in a passion of faith. My whole life is about serving God and serving others before I even think about myself. That's what true religion is. The world, we also we don't try to use the word religion because of we're not just going to church. It's not a religion; it's a relationship. Is what we usually say. But true religion is an outpouring of genuine love for God into the lives of others. That's what true religion is. Service means that I love not just in word, but also in deed. Service means that my faith is real. If I'm not serving, I'm not willing to serve, when I do serve, I'm kicking chairs and smashing stools and whatever else. That's a good indicator that my heart is far from the Lord. I don't actually care about this. I don't care about God's people or the truths that I claim to believe enough to do something about it. Right? Service, it's delighted, it's sacrificial, it's selfless, and it's a willingness to give up my possessions for others' needs. Service is worship in action. Let me pray and I'll let you guys go.